Good noon, students. So, what have we learnt in the previous session? We have learnt about the physical properties of metals and non-metals. So, what are we going to learn in this session? In this session, we are going to learn about one of the chemical property of metals in comparison with that of a non-metal. But before I exactly jump into the topic, I would like to take a quick recap of what we have learned in the previous session. You know that we have 118 elements which have been discovered up till now. And these elements can be further subdivided into metals, non-metals and metalloids. This particular thing have been also discussed in your 8th standard chapter, isn't it? That is metals and non-metals. And also we have discussed in your 9th standard under is matter around us. So pure substances are classified into elements and compounds, and further elements can be classified into metals, non-metals and metalloids. Now metals, some of the examples I can give you, you can give me also by now, that is zinc, aluminium, copper, iron, etc. And some examples of non-metals being chlorine, oxygen, nitrogen, bromine, etc. And some examples of metalloids which have some properties of metals and some properties of non-metals as well are boron, silicon, polonium, arsenic, etc. So what are the physical properties of metals and non-metals? Let's compare. So usually metals are lustrous. What do you mean by lustrous? Lustrous means they are shiny, isn't it? Most of the metals are lustrous, or almost all the metals are lustrous, whereas non-metals are dull. So non-metals are dull, exception is there, except iodine crystals. So iodine crystals are lustrous, that is they shine. Okay. Now usually metals are hard. They cannot be broken very easily. Like for example, you take a block of iron. But there are some metals like sodium and potassium which you can cut using a knife. So these metals are called as soft metals. They are also grouped under alkali metals. So metals like sodium and potassium are exceptions for metals being hard. Otherwise, almost all the metals are hard in nature. Non-metals are usually brittle and soft. Exception, one of the form of carbon, that is diamond. Diamond is the hardest substance. So it is very difficult to break. So this is an exception of a non-metal being hard. Now state, that is physical state of matter, usually metals exist in solid state except one, that is mercury, which is in its liquid state at room temperature, of course. Whereas non-metals exist either as solids or liquids except bromine, which is a liquid again. Now metals exhibit a property called as malleability, that is they can be beaten into thin sheets. So gold and silver are the most malleable metals. Whereas non-metals, if you hit them or try to beat them, they become powder. They're brittle. They are non-malleable. That's why they're called as non-malleable. Now ductility. Ductility is the property of metals to be drawn into wires. So metals can be drawn into thin wires, whereas non-metals are non-ductile. Conductivity of heat and electricity. This is the reason why we use metals as cooking utensils. So metals are good conductors of heat and electricity, except silver and copper, except lead and mercury, which is the least or poor conductor of heat and electricity. Now silver and copper are the best conductors of electricity. Non-metals are poor conductors of electricity except graphite, again a form of carbon, which is a good conductor of electricity. Density. Usually metals are hard because of their density. You know what is the meaning of density? Density is nothing but mass per volume, isn't it? You have learned in your ninth standard. Generally, metals have high density. Exception is sodium and potassium. That's why we can cut them because they're not that, cut them using a knife because that they are not that dense. Usually non-metals have less density and they have less melting point also. The elements metals have high density, so they have high melting point and boiling point, whereas non-metals have low density, they have low melting point and boiling point. Usually most of the non-metals are in gaseous state, so it's understood that they are um, less dense and have less melting point and boiling point. Now sonorous, what do you mean by sonorous? Metals are sonorous, that is, they make ringing sound when they fall, isn't it? Whereas non-metals are non-sonorous, that is, they do not make the ringing sound. Metallic metals react with oxygen to form metallic oxides that are basic in nature, which you will learn in chemical properties, of course. I have not told it yet. Whereas non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. Why I have included this point is because you have learned it in 8th standard, isn't it? You have learned that they form a basic, they have their oxides, metal oxides are basic in nature, whereas non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. Coming to today's topic, that is chemical properties of metals and non-metals, especially reaction of metals with oxygen and reaction of non-metals with oxygen. Let us see how metals and non-metals react with oxygen through this small video. Students, in this session we'll learn about the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. As already explained in the previous slides, we already have learned about the physical properties of metals and non-metals, but still, because of the exceptions which we saw, we cannot completely classify the elements into metals and non-metals. For the same, or in order to become able to classify the elements into metals and non-metals, let us see if knowing a chemical property would help. So let's learn how metals and non-metals react with different chemicals. So now what do we mean by chemical properties? Chemical properties are nothing but the observations during a chemical change or a chemical reaction. So for today we learn one chemical property of metal in comparison with that of a non-metal. That is, reaction of metals and non-metals with oxygen is the topic for today, or the subtopic for today under chemical properties. So usually you have seen or we have performed some of the practicals regarding the same. So we had burnt magnesium ribbon. As you know that burning process requires oxygen. It is nothing but a reaction. So we had burnt magnesium ribbon. It burns with a white dazzling flame to give magnesium oxide, a white ash, isn't it? And we put little water into it and checked the nature of the oxide using blue litmus paper and red litmus paper. We could observe that there was no change in the color in blue litmus paper, but when we dip red litmus paper into the magnesium oxide and dissolved in water, it turned into blue. That means, what does it say? It says that the magnesium oxide or the metal oxides formed are basic in nature. Sometimes you have seen that when we were talking about corrosion, it is nothing but reaction of atmospheric gases with that of metals, right? So oxygen being very reactive reacts with most of the metals, thereby corroding or making the metal look dull. So some of the examples, like, let's see the slide. Usually metals combine with oxygen to form respective metal oxides. Like Copper reacts with oxygen. You know that copper bottles, copper utensils become black also. Other than tarnishing, that is becoming green, they also sometimes become black or lose its luster. Aluminium also reacts and with oxygen to become aluminium oxide, forming a coating and losing the shine, white luster after some time. Magnesium ribbon also, when it you have seen in the lab, the new one looks very bright like silver, but after it's exposed uh, to the air for a long time, it becomes slightly blackish. That is, it looks like cement gray, isn't it? So this is all because it reacts with oxygen. Metals react with oxygen and form a layer of oxide, respective oxide on them, thereby protecting the layer below them. Indirectly, they are protecting the magnesium ribbon or aluminium metal. The lower layers are protected from being oxidized. So you have gone through all this, explanation. I have explained to you when we had burnt magnesium ribbon. Okay, but see, all the metals do not react with oxygen with the same vigorous or same intensity. So different metals react with different substances with different intensity. Based on that, we can arrange the metals in a reactivity series, isn't it? So we can say that the metal which reacts vigorously is more reactive. The one which reacts very slowly as less reactive. The one which does not react as very less reactive or does not react at all, non-reactive. Okay, so let's see how some of the metals react with air. You know that sodium and potassium, you have seen sodium in our lab. Sodium, just if you hold it in the atmosphere or with the tongs, just hold a piece of sodium, it burns, catches fire by itself. You need not lit it or something, it catches fire by itself because it is a very reactive element. Both sodium and potassium react vigorously and catch fire if they're kept open. So they are kept immersed in kerosene or sometimes coated with paraffin and stored. You have seen surface of magnesium. I just told that they form oxide layer, they were preventing. We can burn magnesium ribbon, but there are certain elements which do not catch fire, like iron. Iron filings catch fire, but iron do not catch fire. And copper turnings, they do not catch fire. Neither aluminium catches fire. So we can just say that they, on exposure to oxygen or when we try to burn it, they just form an oxide layer, but they do not burn. Okay, and coming to aurium, that is gold and silver, they do not form respective oxides. That is, they do not react with oxygen even if you burn. If you burn or you just keep it outside, so they do not react with oxygen if you keep it exposed to air. Otherwise, if you burn also, they do not, you cannot see any changes. They do not react with oxygen. They just melt on heating. They do not get converted into respective oxides. So basically, you know that metals react with oxygen, either with atmospheric oxygen or on burning, to form respective metal oxides, which are usually basic in nature. How can we say that they are basic in nature? By using litmus paper, we can make out whether the oxide formed is basic or acidic. But how can we say? So what is the proof or the evidence to say that metal oxides are basic in nature? The reason is, usually the principle I want to explain is, usually when we dissolve metal oxides in water, they react with water to form respective metal hydroxides. So hydroxides of metal are nothing but bases, right? This is the principle or the reason they exhibit basic nature. Bases are usually hydroxides of metals, or bases can be described or defined as chemical substances that liberate hydroxyl ions, and that is true with oxides of metals when dissolved in water. So usually oxides of metals are basic in nature, and that can be proved by litmus test. Okay. Now sometimes, like for example, oxides of metals like aluminium and zinc react with both acid and base. That is, they show acidic and as well as basic behavior. So we have already learned what they are called. What are they called? They are called as amphoteric oxides. So oxides of metals showing behavior of both both the acid and a base are called as amphoteric oxides. So among them, aluminium oxide and zinc oxide are the examples. So now this was about how metals react with oxygen. So based on their reactivity, we can make an order of reactivity or reactivity series. But then in case of aluminium, iron, copper, zinc, as they do not burn, we cannot put them in a proper order of reactivity. So for that, we'll have to see how they react with other substances like water, acids, bases, and other metal salts, etc. So let's see how non-metals react with oxygen. Non-metals, if you keep it or expose it to atmospheric oxygen, they do not react. They are very less reactive. Okay. But on burning, if you remember, we had burnt sulfur powder. On sulfur is a non-metal. On burning, they form acidic oxides or non-metallic oxides with acidic nature. Then again, how do we say that they form acidic oxides? You know that, for example, sulfur on burning forms sulfur dioxide. This reacts with water to form sulfurous acid. So since they can form acid on reacting with water, non-metallic oxides are said to be acidic in nature. Yeah, to determine or test, we can go for litmus test. Using a blue litmus paper, if you dip blue litmus paper in the solution of non-metallic oxide, you can get to know that they turn the blue litmus to red, showing that non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. Now some of the examples are there in the slide. You can see that the sulfur reacts with oxygen to form sulfur dioxide, and sulfur dioxide in turn reacts with water, or when water is put into sulfur dioxide, it reacts to form sulfurous acid. And carbon reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide in turn reacts with water to form carbonic acid. To some extent, we have learnt this in acid rain topic under pollution of water in 8th standard, right? Yes. So this is enough for today, and in the next session we are going to learn the next chemical property. We need not run with the topics because we have enough time. So in the next session we'll talk about reaction of metals and non-metals with water. Thank you.